What happens when America's beloved Kelly Clarkson walks into what becomes the most uncomfortable interview of her career? What started as a routine, cheerful morning show appearance quickly spiraled into a moment of live television tension that no one in the studio could ignore, leaving viewers at home stunned and the production team scrambling to regain control. This is the story of how a seemingly harmless question about her personal life escalated into a confrontation so intense that Kelly Clarkson actually walked off the Today Show set, leaving Melvin speechless and the crew in full panic. If you want to hear exactly how this unforgettable moment unfolded, make sure to subscribe and drop a comment telling me what you think ultimately pushed Kelly to her breaking point. The morning began like any other at NBC Studios in New York City. Kelly Clarkson, fresh off another successful season of her daytime talk show, was scheduled for a standard promotional interview with Melvin on the Today Show. She was there to discuss her newest album, upcoming tour dates, and her ongoing achievements as a television host. The studio felt bright and busy, filled with the usual chatter of crew members preparing equipment and adjusting cameras. Everyone assumed this would be another friendly, light segment, the kind that makes for easy television. Kelly walked into the studio in high spirits. She smiled warmly at everyone, joked with makeup artists, and took a moment to chat with assistants and production members. Behind the scenes, she was admired not just for her talent, but for her warmth and approachability. Melvin, polished and professional as always, had his notes ready and looked genuinely excited to speak with one of America's most beloved entertainers. As they settled into their chairs on the iconic Today Show set, the studio lights clicked on, casting a familiar, bright glow. The cameras began rolling. The plan was simple: an easygoing 8-minute segment showcasing Kelly's personality, her music, and her upcoming projects. At first, everything went as expected. Creig opened with his signature warm welcome, praising Kelly's accomplishments. "Kelly, it's always such a pleasure to have you here," he said, smiling. "Your talk show is thriving, and now you've released this incredible new album. Tell us what inspired these songs." Kelly's face lit up as she spoke about her music. She discussed her creative process, collaborations with songwriters, and how this album represented a personal and professional milestone. Her passion was clear. "This album really reflects where I am right now," she said, moving her hands as she spoke. "I wanted to be honest about my experiences, the good and the challenging. Music has always been my way of processing life and sharing my story." Creig nodded, asking thoughtful follow-up questions about specific tracks and the tour. Kelly laughed easily at his jokes and offered thoughtful answers, making the conversation feel natural and engaging. Everything seemed perfect. Then, Creig leaned in and shifted the topic. "Now I have to ask," he said. "Your fans are always curious about your personal life. You've been open about your divorce and the impact it had. How are things going now? Are you seeing anyone special?" It sounded like an ordinary question, something celebrities are often asked. Kelly's smile remained, but there was a subtle change in her expression. She paused slightly longer than usual. "You know, Creig, I'm actually in a really good place right now," she said warmly, though her voice carried a subtle edge. "I'm focused on my kids, my work, and taking life day by day. That's what feels healthiest for me right now." Creig either didn't notice the change in tone or chose to push forward. "That's wonderful," he said. "But recently there have been rumors about you and a certain someone. Any truth to that?" Kelly's jaw tightened subtly, her smile controlled. "I prefer to keep my private life private, Creig. My fans understand and respect that." Her answer was polite yet firm, a clear signal most hosts would have followed. But Creig pressed on. "I understand, I do. But people adore you. They want to see you happy. Could you give just a small hint about what makes Kelly Clarkson happy outside of work?" Kelly clasped her hands in her lap, jaw set. The cameras caught the subtle shift in her posture. Casual viewers might not notice it, but the crew could sense frustration building. "What makes me happy?" Kelly repeated, her voice controlled but noticeably cool. "It's being able to come on shows like this and talk about my music without having every corner of my personal life picked apart for entertainment." The tension in the studio became thick. Crew members exchanged anxious glances, sensing the interview was veering into dangerous territory. Creig, however, continued, oblivious or unwilling to back down. Kelly, I think you might be reading into this too much, he said with a forced laugh. We're just having a friendly conversation. Fans care about you as a person, not just as a performer. Kelly's eyes flashed, irritation just beneath the surface, but she remained composed. And I appreciate that support, Creig, but caring about someone doesn't give them the right to know every detail of their private life. The exchange had grown uncomfortable. Creig seemed to believe he was conducting a normal celebrity interview, but Kelly felt invaded. I'm not asking for every detail, he said, tone tightening. These are normal questions anyone in your position would expect. Kelly's cheeks flushed slightly. Her voice sharpened. What I signed up for was promoting my work and talking about my music. I did not sign up to provide gossip fodder or justify my personal choices. The studio atmosphere had shifted completely. Creig looked surprised, but did not relent. Kelly, you're sounding defensive. I'm not trying to intrude. I'm asking what the viewers want to know. You've been open before, so why is this off limits? Kelly's composure snapped. She gripped the arms of her chair, voice cutting through the room. There's a huge difference between sharing stories on your terms and being pushed to reveal things you're not ready to discuss. I thought you'd understand that, Creig pressed on. I respect your privacy, but your brand is built on authenticity. People are naturally curious. Kelly leaned forward, voice calm but deadly serious. So because I create a safe space for my guests, that means I've forfeited my own boundaries? That's your logic? Creig faltered. Not exactly. People care because you've shared in the past. Kelly's voice gained strength. My brand is about sharing experiences when I choose. It's about respect and connection, not handing over private details for entertainment. Producers whispered frantically into headsets. Creig finally recognized he might have gone too far. But reacting like this makes people wonder what you're hiding, he said. Kelly's eyes narrowed, voice full of controlled fury. Hide? Creig, I'm not hiding anything. I'm protecting my kids' normalcy. I want relationships that aren't constantly dissected. I want to be a human being who happens to be famous, not someone stripped of humanity. Creig shifted uneasily. Kelly, I didn't mean it that way. No, let me finish, she interrupted, voice rising. I hide the fact that sometimes I cry in my car after interviews like this because I feel trapped. If I share too much, I'm accused of oversharing. If I hold back, I'm called secretive. I hide my children's questions about why strangers feel entitled to our lives. I hide wondering if this career is worth it when I must defend my basic need for privacy. The studio fell silent. Crew members froze, realizing this was no longer a typical interview. Creig looked visibly shaken. Kelly continued. You have a family, Creig. Would you want every part of your life broadcast? And you know what else? I'm hiding my disappointment in you. I respected you. I thought you understood the difference between honest journalism and gossip. Today you proved you don't. Creig's face reflected the weight of her words. Kelly, maybe I misunderstood. No, Creig, she said coldly. You understood perfectly. You chose a television moment over basic human decency. She glanced at the camera, then back. Congratulations. You got your moment. Creig went pale. Kelly, I didn't intend... Intentions don't erase the impact, she said. You showed me you'll sacrifice comfort for content. Her words hit hard. Kelly stood, unhooking her microphone. This interview is over, Creig pleaded. Please, Kelly, let's start over. You can't reset this like a computer, she said. You can't undo disrespect. Creig tried again. I may have pushed too far, but this is journalism. Hard questions are part of the job. Kelly laughed bitterly. Hard questions? About who I'm dating? That's gossip, not journalism. The room froze. Crew members stopped moving. Kelly set her microphone down. There's a difference between connection and exploitation. You don't see it. Creig, panicking, stood. Kelly, this is TV. People answer questions and move on. You're overreacting. Kelly shook her head. Not a crime, Creig, but a betrayal of trust. I came in good faith. You chose your agenda over my dignity. She looked around at the silent crew. I love interviews. I love talking about my work. But moments like this make me want to retreat, build walls, and stop sharing. Creig whispered. Please don't let this ruin your perspective. Kelly softened slightly, voice still firm. This isn't one interview. It's a culture that treats fame as permission to invade privacy. Being famous doesn't mean surrendering your humanity. She began walking off. Creig followed, calling out, "What do I tell viewers?" Kelly stopped, turned, and said, "Tell them the truth. Tell them you pushed someone past their comfort for entertainment. Tell them boundaries matter. Tell them being famous doesn't mean being available 24/7. Tell them celebrities are real people with families and struggles." Her voice strengthened. "Tell them people on TV are not characters. They're humans." With that, Kelly Clarkson walked off the Today Show set, leaving Creig frozen under the lights, surrounded by stunned crew. Cameras continued rolling, capturing Creig's visible distress as he processed what had just happened. Silence hung in the studio, broken only by the hum of equipment. He stared into the camera, knowing nothing would ever feel the same. So what do you think finally pushed Kelly over the edge? Was it Creig's persistence, his dismissive tone, or something deeper about how celebrities are treated today? Subscribe for more stories like this, and share in the comments what you think was the real breaking point in this unforgettable confrontation.